we will,
I have a question for you.
yes.
So I know guys are always like, I know this whole thing is about, you know, guys getting things off their chest, a little bit better understanding. Where is the great divide between what guys want from a woman and a woman want from a guy? And then where's the commonality where they come together on their wants and needs?
Ah, that is a very good question. And that is a wonderful segue into our next segment about relationships, dating, and intimacy, mind, and boundaries. So, you was talking about ghosting, right? Where's the great divide? And that I say that the great divide is not understanding each other objectively, right? There's this uncanny ability or um, expectation or even assumption that the other person is projecting onto the other person, right? So when they talk, people see the other person's actions through their own projections and call it a demonstration of their wants when they aren't really acknowledging and owning the fact that you're projecting your own desires onto this person and hoping to have the expectation met. That's what I would say. What do you think?
Can you give me an example? Because I mean, like, because when we talk about communication, and like I understand the projecting part, I know what that is, but I'm just saying, like, we live in a world where 90% of communicate, what is it, 80%, 80, 90% is body language.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I like an example of what you're,
And communication.
I'm projecting. Like, what, like, how do you see that as a divide, you know?
You talking
Because
about in dating or just in general?
I would say yeah, dating or in a relationship. Because that's what I'm saying is the great divide when it comes to women and men's needs and wants when they get into a relationship.
Okay. Prime
Like
example.
I can give you a quick example of like I so yes, this is
It's
not
difficult. It's not
no,
that easy.
it's not so much okay. So what I'm going down, and again, this is not to beat up on women. I just happen to know a lot of statistics. So whether you like the statistics or facts or whatever, correct me, that's fine. I'm an open book. I'm fine with it. I can take criticism, but I'm just saying from a statistical standpoint, and tell me if I'm wrong or not, but women are more analytical than guys because we all have a primitive mind. Technology is actually moving way faster than our poor little mind can actually move. So women are designed to look out for danger. They're more perceptive to that. So this is actually a compliment. And with that being said, is I think it can kind of get over analytical when it comes into communication or relationship. So if there's like you know, a disagreement or a way that the guy is trying to mansplain, as we've been labeled, on certain problems, the woman tends to, you know, absorb and hear, but maybe because the way that the guy is trying to have a calm tone or a certain set of words aren't lined up in the way that they're thinking. They have these multiple thoughts going on and they've already translated into something else. So there's communication breakdown.
I
So
got
that's
you.
where I get the projection, but I didn't know if that was the example that you're looking for.
No, no, no. I got you. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I'll use myself as an example, right? you we've worked pretty closely together over the last couple, I want to say year or so, right? So and you've gone a
18 months at least.
yeah, at least, right? I was trying to keep that just like a year or so, right? You coming with the specific statistics, right? So you've seen me, I'm pretty direct, right? I say what I need to say. I don't really leave any room for ambiguity because I say exactly what I need to say. Even when I'm joking in a playful way, I find the words to communicate very clearly what it is I need to say, whether it's with you, whether it's with coworkers or anybody, right? I say what I need to say. If I'm going to compliment somebody, I give the compliment as is. Like there's no sugarcoating, right? I say what I need to say because I'm very secure. I know myself and I'm very open. I'm very intentional about everything that I do. I'm intentional about what I say, how I say it, why I say it, when I say it, and where I say it, right? So my actions are very intentional, even when I'm being playful, and things like that. So for me, when I am talking to a woman, and I don't change. And I am exactly the same way because I'm consistent. And you know I'm consistent. That's one of the things that I've gotten all the time from my friendships, whether professionally, platonically, um, with my buddies, my female friends, and even those romantic pursuits, right, with other women. It's like I'm consistent. So when I show up the way that I show up, people can't figure me out because they're not used to somebody being so open and direct. Because the construct of what they thought as opposed to what they want, when I show up and there's nothing to explain, this whole fantasy thing that they were looking for, or this whole maybe it's this, maybe it's that, it's like a broken code and program. It's like does not compute. It's like I don't know what to do with this because they're so used to the games, they're so used to the indirect and the cat and mouse that they don't know how to handle when somebody just comes up straightforward and just says, "This is it." And they're like, What do you mean? This is it. What I said is what I meant. There's nothing for them to misinterpret. So it's like when the communication is so clean and pure, the disconnect happens because I don't know how to handle this. And so usually what happens is that the past experiences have no way to associate. It's like, this is unfamiliar territory. This is not something I know. And then fear creeps in. And it's like, I have to back away because now I'm facing myself. Because when I talk with people and I'm so upfront, all of the shenanigans and all of the messiness that they may have dealt with, or the insecurity or the unknown that comes to the forefront because they're dealing with something so direct and clean, they're starting to see a mirror of themselves and like, I got to come a different way because the stuff that I used to do or how I approached it is not going to fly here. And I'm like,
If they have the willpower to change, though.
yeah. And don't get me wrong, I'm absolutely, you've seen it, I'm willing to hold the space. I'm willing to hold that space and let that process happen. I'm willing to be in that journey with you.
But I don't think, I mean, going full circle, I don't think that has anything to do with the disconnect because honestly, that's a great disconnect. I'd rather have a disconnect with that because for ladies out there, take note, that's a quality that you're looking for from locker room. Someone that can actually just tell it how it is. For you men out there, and I just read somewhere where it's actually if you are the type of person to be triggered easily, you are also the type of person to be manipulated easily.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, men, if you find that there's certain women, that's why you should give it time. Don't rush in. 18 months isn't that long, honestly. So if you give it that 18 months and you find out that that woman gets triggered about every little thing and you have to mansplain whatever it is and to try to back yourself out, that's not the right woman for you. And for you women out there, if you're finding yourselves getting too triggered about something too easily, you need to look within yourself, take a step back, because unfortunately, you're going to find a man that's going to manipulate you. So I'm looking out for you as well.
and it goes, it's the reverse of that too. The reverse of that is also true because men can be just as triggered and just as easily manipulated, right? Because if they haven't done that, I have done the work, right? Captain Awesome knows this. He's like, from the moment we met and connected, he saw that I was not the typical person, right? I'm not saying I'm above average, but because it's not a comparison thing, right? We're not talking about comparison in that regards here, but I have done the work, the internal, retrospective, reflective, facing your stuff work, right? So it's easier for me to talk about different things because I'm not trying to hide and I'm not trying to cover stuff up, right? I've learned what it meant to be metaphorically exposed and bare, both privately and publicly. So when I'm out here talking, I'm not trying to impress. I'm not trying to get approval, validation, confirmation, affirmation, right? I'm not here to confirm, clarify, or deny. I'm here to be me. And if that's not enough, I know I am enough. And somewhere for someone else, I am more than enough, right? So when we're talking about being triggered, it's like you can't take traumatic experiences, whether great or small, out of the expression and how you maneuver in these situations because it's all connected, right? And we're not necessarily saying that there's trauma, but we're not saying that there's not. We're saying that you have to really look internally to understand who you are when you're in this type of environment and you're dating or you're pursuing and really get to the nitty gritty of, why there's a lack of discipline where you can't wait, should you wait, you just want to dive head first, is it infatuation or is it really intention? So you have to really look and be able to have a very, very developed emotional vocabulary. It's not just I like, dislike, I feel torn or what's the word that, you have to really dive into that vocabulary of I feel stressed or pressured or inhibited. What's the word? Inhibitions, right? What's the short end of that word? Inhibited. Thank you. I feel inhibited to express myself freely because I want to pause because I feel like I might be leaving in leaving a area that caution doesn't have place to the wind, right? I feel like I'm taking a risk with no clear vision in sight. You have to be able to articulate your thoughts in a way that you can understand it. That's why journaling is a very good way of doing that, or voice memoing, or just being able to express yourself just to yourself so that way it's clear to you externally, not just internally, because internally you could be thinking 1,000 words a minute and it all gets mushed up together. But if you pause, get that pen to paper, get that voice to record, and begin to stop and play it back, then this whole conversation will make sense. And yeah, I may have botched that whole articulation stuff like that because this is live, you guys. I don't have no script in front of me. Okay, give me a little grace. but
I mean, it's a good point because, like I said, for guys that are exercising, hitting the gym, eating right, sleeping, all that stuff, that's great. But, that's a great point that you also have to do the internal work. And I would also stress that for some of you men out there that get triggered about every little thing, at the end of the day, whether you like it or not, it's just because your feelings are hurt, right? That's why you're angry. Your feelings are hurt. So you got to pick your battles. And I'm not saying that you need to be a robot and not have feelings. I'm just saying, just pick your battles, what you find, and that was another thing that locker room had talked about is boundaries. Are there certain lines that you are not willing to let other people trample on that you're willing to stand up for and fight for? And that's where I feel like it's okay to be angry about certain things, but Don't be a pushover on every little thing, especially if, you know, you feel like your self-worth is not at the level for maybe a woman that you value and respect because she just looks better than any other woman you ever dated in your life. That's not the right way to think about things. But going full circle, yeah, work on yourself mentally and physically. And I know that's going to take a little bit of work. You know, use your car, use your travel time, whatever downtime you have, meal prepping to just study on, you know, emotional and self-care. So then that way you're just that ideal man for the right woman whenever, you know, the time comes.
But you did great points. But I want to do a callback to something that we talked about before we started doing this episode about ghosting. Though this is a really good segue into bringing that into the conversation, right? Because when you have that great divide, that could be a very easy way to start ghosting people.
But I mean, when I think about ghosting, and there's a syndicated radio show that I've listened to where it's like second date follow up. It's like, why in the world are you going to chase somebody that's ghosting you? And yeah, there might be a miscommunication, but a majority of the time in those little episodes that I've heard, it's typically the woman that's ghosting. Um, Most of the time, there are some guys, but again, whether you're a woman or a man, why in the world are you chasing someone that's ghosting you? Like, why? If you don't have the communication to like say, this isn't working out for me, then why? But that's not what I'm getting back on the full circle. I don't think ghosting has any that's just a communication thing. Okay, communication breakdown, that's fine. I think that's just society and that's you know, America unfortunately is getting really bad at that as technology improves, if you will, air quotes.
We
It's
can
everybody.
we can
Everybody
we can
needs.
see
You're getting me on a tangent here because I get my soapbox out because I feel like, you know, if you really want something bad enough, you're gonna do some internal work on it, you
you.
know.
Yeah.
But I know that's where getting to that first part of peace, and I know it's really hard for anyone that's following that path of like, because I know some people that can't go alone, like a Jerry Maguire thing. You can't be alone. Like you always have to jump from one relation to the next because you're not taking the time to work on yourself. Like it's sad that most marriages that fail, a second marriage starts within the next 5 years, 80% of the time. And then we all, some of you may know, that the second marriage has a higher statistic of failing than the first one because no one's taking the time to stop from all the noise and work on themselves. Because if
Mm,
you really want something bad enough, you'll find it. But I think a lot of times people get too uncomfortable being alone and too uncomfortable about that routine. I don't know what to say, but toughen up, you know?
tough it up. So
I mean, I don't know how to drive that fire in, but
no,
it's
no,
like
no, no, it's
you're gonna
good.
have to toughen up, guys. Like no
So
one's gonna hold your hand in that journey. If you want something great, if you want a diamond, you have to understand it takes pressure and time. And a lot of people like they feel like there's not enough time. Well, you can create time by cutting out distractions in your life to find that right person and that better version of yourself that is a year from now or 5 years from now if you cut out all the distractions.
my
I feel like
guy,
you're glowing with this, like you're just enjoying me getting on my soapbox.
my
Like
guy is over
so
here
mad.
bringing the heat with like he's like legacy loaded with like lighthouse proportions, right? No, I love it. I love it because it's so would you say that when someone is ghosting someone, would you say that that's emotional immaturity or is it potentially just emotional overload?
I don't think it's emotional at all. I think it's more I mean, even studies are starting to show that we're getting into a world of like narcissism's on the rise. Like it just people just have I'm not let me back that up. Not all people, because I know we're all individuals, but I think we do tend to unfortunately get sucked into like some sheep mindset from time to time because that's what everybody else does. So if someone treats us that way, then we start doing it too, you know? And that's why I say technology, you know, is a double-edged sword. It's just a matter of which path you want to take. Do you want to take the long end of the sword? Or do you want to take the short end? And you'll find that there's a lot more peace over on the short end because it's not as crowded. You're not going to find a lot of peace in a crowded room. And, you know, that's why I keep saying, like, find yourself doing a lot of what most people aren't willing to do, and you'll find your peace. Stop spending your way into happiness, and you'll find your peace.
Hmm.
Start working out. You'll find that more people rather not work out than actually you find them in the gym. Like, do complete opposite of what most people do, and you'll find your peace. It's going to be uncomfortable, but so is exercise. But so is maybe juggling two jobs or juggling and you know your first job that you're creating. You're employing people, and that's uncomfortable. And you're working 80 to 90 hour weeks, but you're gonna find that there's a lot of peace at the end of it. It's just gonna be uncomfortable for that short period of time, whether it be a year or 5 years.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm laughing. For those of you always like, why am I over here laughing? Is because there's an underlining current in what he just said, right? And it's because I know him. And I know from the real life experience that he's speaking from, right? So it's just like he's not saying something that's metaphorical, right? So he's speaking truths because of things that he's lived in one way or the other. So that's why I'm in that sense. So it's like you were talking about, and I noticed that in thus far in our talk that the concept of contentment has been coming up, right? You know, things happen because a person is really not content with who they are. So they're rushing into things, you know, to try and either fill a void or distract themselves or have an excuse for not becoming the better, I don't want to say better version, for not bettering themselves, right? So would you say that contentment has a lot to do with it, but not necessarily in a does contentment have a lot to do with it? Like, how do they find contentment outside of, you know, hitting the gym or reading those personal development books or being in a relationship, right? Because it's really easy to start doing the things that people say to get you better without actually being present in the activity. Does it make sense?
Well, I'm just thinking like, are you saying contentment, like they're content in like, yeah, I'm trying to process that. So my thing is when I think of content or I'm thinking of comfort, it's the complete opposite. I'm comfortable of exercising. I'm comfortable uh grinding, 90-hour work weeks. Like, are you saying that? Like, because I'm not, that doesn't seem like content to me or comfort. That seems like someone that maybe for some people, it may be running the rat race because they got in over their head on where they're living and other expenses and things like that. But for the most part, I don't think that is. Content, content to me is like they picked the wrong relationship. It's that sunk cost fallacy where it's like, I've already spent X amount of time in it. Um, maybe I've gotten older in my years, so nobody else will be able to find me. And that was uncomfortable trying to get a new relationship. I don't find an out, things like that.
No, no, yeah, yeah. It goes back to what you just said, just goes back to, you know, not realizing that peace takes time, right? And shortcuts usually cost more in regrets, right? I recently was talking to somebody um, at work, and they were telling me, and this is a nice quick example. They were telling me about how they didn't have enough time to go and wish somebody who's retiring a farewell. And I told them, I said, one emotion that definitely has a taste is regret, right? It's very bitter. and you can't get it back. So when I'm talking about contentment is being in a place that um, I'll use myself as an example, and I think you could understand what I'm about to say. Um, I think I'm a man that is content, right? Contentment doesn't mean satisfied. Contentment doesn't mean settled. Contentment means I'm still here, putting the work in, doing the reps, focused. But if this is where I'm at, I'm happy.
So the present. So yeah, you're right.
Yes.
Like a lot of people, I feel like they're living in the past with the regret, or they're living for the future for things that they don't have and the things that they want, rather than being content and grateful for where they're at in life right then and there and accountable.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of times people aren't even accountable, and so that's why they repeat the second, third marriage or whatever other relationship they're in.
Yes. Yes. So it's that what you just said, right? Um, when you get into these places of contentment, it's it's easier for a person not to rush into stuff because they're not in a hurry and they're willing to do what's necessary to get to that place, no matter how long it takes. And I think that comes with a place of maturing that a lot of people are not willing to face.
I think it helps too, going back to what you're talking about journaling. So, like, one best practice that I do is I get an actual calendar that has pretty good box space. So you can write, your goals out and mark them off. There is nothing more satisfying on our brain to actually have, like, just check it off. And just saying you conquered that day is just like making your bed when you wake up. When you go to bed, that's one thing you accomplished. No matter what life threw at you, you're able to accomplish it. So I would recommend to anyone out there, get a calendar, write a goal out, whether it's a year, whatever. If it's a financial goal, write out the number of where you're at and just keep moving along. Just anything that you can write out. It's so impactful when you just keep marking it off. If you have a goal for 365 days out, then write it out. Um, I think we may have talked about it. I don't know if I did earlier on the first episode, but how many days are a million seconds?
How many did no, we did not talk about that on the last
Okay, so do you
episode.
know that without asking
But
John?
without asking Jonathan, how many days are
A million seconds.
a million seconds? Oh, I should know this. I'm gonna guess, right? I'm gonna guess, and I'm gonna say 6 months.
It's 11 days.
It's 11 days. Oh,
11 days.
11 days. Okay, why did you
Well,
make
And
it?
then, and then how many days is a billion seconds?
How many days is a billion seconds? 21.
21 days?
Hmm.
How about 31 years?
31 years.
Yeah.
Hold on,
So,
wait, hold on. Don't call me out, y'all, in the comments because my math is off. All right, I'm guessing. All right, don't do that. Right, I could just feel it.
so, so the reason why I was explaining that or showing that little example is because whatever you write down on that calendar, no matter how big the goal is or how small, it doesn't matter. There's several calendars you can keep buying every single year, but having that focused is going to make your life so much more content and at peace when you start seeing that you're making progress,
Hmm.
no matter how small it is. And that's all it starts with. We all look at these great individuals, and I believe we talked about on episode one as well, as we're in awe of, like, wow, that's a wealthy person, or wow, that's like, do you know how many books they read to get to that level? Do you know how many sacrifices they made, relationships and, personal time of like having fun or whatever it was in order to get where they're at? Like, no one cares about it. They just care about they just got to the top. It's like you can, again, we talked about this too. Like, you can talk about climbing K2 or Mount Everest, and it doesn't mean anything when you actually go through it, guys. And it's like just keep marking it off 1 mile at a time, 1 second at a time. Like it's going to be so impactful because it's really hard for people to understand those types of numbers. Like, wow, 1 million seconds to 1 billion just went to 31 years. Like that's crazy. But when you see the progress and you have all your calendars stacked, that's going to be a story in itself.
Yeah, we did talk about that a little bit on the first episode, and outside of this, we talked about, how people compare, right? They compare themselves to what has been polished, but they didn't realize that somebody had to get out the liquid and do all the rubbing. Sit there for hours and hours to make sure that that shine just happens just right, and then you see it, right? You don't see the work behind it, and I know that sounds so cliche, right? We see it all the time. People talk about, oh, you got to put in the work, you got to put in the work. And then they show you this comparison picture from when they were like 16 and now they're 28, ripped and shredded, right? It's like, oh man, I want to be like that. You guys, that's freaking 12-year difference. Okay. Over here, freaking 12-year difference. You think it just happened overnight? Oh no, absolutely not. It's like, and the things that we're talking about here, you guys, this is a wonderful. I'm going to invite you all to come into our quarterly challenge, right? Those 100 books per quarter. Yes, I said 100 books per quarter. I'm going to post what that actually is and the details on this platform and also on the site so that you all can dive into that. Let us know if you're going to get inside of that challenge and let us know how it's transforming you because we're both doing it and he was reluctant. He was so reluctant, but look at him
Okay,
now.
how come? Okay, so yeah, you're gonna have to put the details in, but it was an expensive challenge, we'll put it that way. Let's say
Like,
I didn't have 100 books stacked around me. So
but
for some
I
of
gave you
you, for
choices.
some of you, I will recommend that maybe some free ways like YouTube audiobooks. That would probably be not as crazy as I did it. So
Well,
I
I
had my own.
mean, I know why you did
But
it.
scared money doesn't make money, right?
Right, yeah, but that's the competitive side of you. I gave you beautiful choices that were very economical, and you was like, "No, I want to have the actual books. I don't want to just, But
That's
one
right.
of the okay, you guys. So just giving you some of the points, just one of it, right? You can repeat listen books, right? You can repeat listen a book, and that still counts as another book. You
You want to
know,
elaborate on that so it's not Dr. Seuss?
Yes. So, like, if you have a book, so for me, I am a man who is very faith oriented, right? So I included Proverbs into that, the whole book of Proverbs. And I said that each chapter is considered a book because if you dive down and go through that and break down each chapter, so much wealth of knowledge that you see whether you are a believer in Christ or not, the principles of wisdom are there that so many people across so many industries are using right now, right? So that's 31 books. So you can listen to that and listen to it over and over and over again. And every time you listen to each chapter or if you listen to the whole book in one sitting, that's 31 books. Or if you listen to, there's a book that I listen to, The Millionaire Mindset. Um, that's a book. I've listened to it. It takes me like maybe 2.5 hours now. It's a 7-hour book. I listened to it at 3 times speed, right? Because I trained myself to do so. I've listened to that book like maybe 5 or 6 times. That's 5 books, 5 or 6 books, because I've listened to it over and over again. So if you have books that you've listened to, go back and re-listen to it. That counts. Or if it's a new book and you want to listen to it again because you missed something the first time, listen to it again. That still counts as a multiple book, right? So that's what I mean by repeat listens.